Good morning, everyone. It is Friday, September 23rd, and we got another big day ahead of us today. Mostly everything is moving very substantially to the downside, continuing yesterday's sell-off. So we're going to cover these charts real quick and kind of go through and show you what is unfolding here. Now, if we take a look at the US dollar index, this is the 4-hour chart. You can see all that up at the top here. US dollar index, 240 minutes. More or less zooming out a couple months here, you can see we've had the big rally up. We had the pullback where we ended up going long. We had a nice bounce into resistance where we took partial profits and moved our stop to break even. From there, we waited for a breakout of a continuation pattern, and yesterday we did. We got a nice big gap to the upside. We took money off at the open yesterday, and since then it's pretty much traded sideways in a taking more or less a breather here. I just felt as though the move was big enough and we're into some resistance from looking back previously that I'd like to take some money off the table and go back to cash. We may get some type of pullback to go long. And so that's kind of what we did yesterday. Now there is potential for the US dollar index to continue to go a little bit higher still. And if we look at that level, we've got more or less the pivot low to the pivot high. And if you take that measured move, you got 1, 2, 3, 4 cents up. So we got the low from the pullback, 1, 2, 3, 4 cents up, brings us to 80, which happens to be major resistance from back in November of 2010 and early this year. So there is room for it to do one more little surge. It does seem like it's doing a little bit of a bull flag here, a little pause, consolidation, taking a breather, and it could easily surge and continue higher. But overall, we have had a very substantial run to the upside, and we are into a key resistance level over here. So that's one of the reasons why I want to just take our money. We caught a very nice move in it. We got the easy money out of that play. Now it's going to become becoming more volatile, and we are at resistance, so there's a good chance that it could actually come back down fairly sharply, which we've seen in the dollar before. You can see almost every rally that's come up has come straight back down a couple days later. The fact that we have had a nice impulse move across this key pivot point and broke above it, it does indicate that we are now in a short-term uptrend. So we could see the US dollar bounce up this line and work its way higher. But overall, we got the breakout, we got the pullback, and we got in with the easy money, and that's where we stand right now. We're just going to wait for another potential setup. Now, if I just zoom in really quick here, um, sorry, I'll grab the crude oil chart here. Here's a crude oil chart. Yesterday's strength in the dollar sent crude oil tumbling into our favor. And again, this is the same pattern we've been looking. This goes back 2 months or a month and a half. This is a bearish pattern with a rising wedge, and we ended up shorting it right up in here. We took profits on the first break here to lock in some gains, moved our stops to break even, and then from there we just let it play out. And now yesterday we had a nice sell-off, and it pierced exactly what we were looking for. We were looking for a break of these pivot lows, which would trigger stops and cause this waterfall price action, and it came right down to our target of the 81, which is where I thought it would have its first bounce, and that's where we covered yesterday at the morning at the open. And we got a little bit of a bounce there, but this morning it ended up coming and breaking this pivot low, and you can see it just triggered a lot of stops, and it surged down even lower. So we do have a key support zone down in here around the 76 area, which I pointed out is a likely target also. Excuse me. But overall, we are out of the oil play. If you're still short, I'd be putting a protective stop on yesterday's high, or wherever the bounce was, more or less at the close yesterday, and you could just kind of chase it down. But overall, we got the easy money on this move. We waited almost a month and a half to get in. I remember seeing this fall here back in August, and pretty much waiting for some type of base to form. At first I thought we were going to have a nice base, and then it started to turn into a wedge, and we finally waited for the price action to narrow and volume to move in our favor. And of course we took a short here, took partial profits, hit our first main target. That was the easy money, and we're back out kind of waiting to see what happens. And now the fact that we had this sharp drop again this morning just goes to show we're getting into volatility, and anything can happen. It could, it could continue to free fall. It could reverse sharply, and it can happen in minutes. So we took the easy money again, and we're waiting for the next setup. Now for gold and silver, I've been pointing out that I've been neutral to bearish. I've been bearish just because of the U.S. dollar, and I think there's going to be some type of fix or short fix in the overseas market, which would take some pressure off commodities. Yesterday we saw crude oil fall from about 8.15 down to the 1730 area, which was still within this previous pivot low. I've been pointing out for about a month and change here that once we do get a sharp reversal, we've got a gap down here. I've got a 640 kind of price target on it for this gap to come down and fill. Anyways, this morning we're seeing gold drop sharply with oil, and it's working its way down. Now it did break this pivot low here, which is what's triggered that spike of selling. Simply, there's a lot of people who have stopped saying if it breaks this previous low back here, I just want out, and that's what happens. As soon as it breaks it, all those orders get triggered and you get a further push lower. So we are coming down into this little gap here. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a washout panic selling here today. Gap fill could last a couple days. This kind of momentum usually drags out for 2 to 4 days, and then from there I wouldn't be surprised if we get a pretty sharp bounce back up. But right now we're still selling down. All the spikes here are showing that sellers are strictly in control, and you don't want to mess with it right now. Looking at silver, I've been pointing out has been an ugly chart without any real setups, and it's considered to be very bearish. And I pointed out that it moves with stocks, and when you get real fear in the market, you'll see silver sell off very sharply with stocks. And of course, that's exactly what happened yesterday and again today. If I just zoom in a little bit, yesterday we saw silver drop down about 6 or 8%, and today alone we're seeing silver drop. This morning, what is it down? It's down almost 11%, 10.5% this morning again. It went from almost $41 an ounce down to $32 an ounce this morning, just getting crushed. And it's an unwinding of everybody playing the leveraged, playing silver as speculative. It's not a high volume commodity, and when the masses all hit the sell button, it just free falls and just collapses. So you can see we're right down into some major support zone, right where this previous low is. If we break this previous low, I wouldn't be surprised if we see silver hit 30 today, as it just continues to fall, and there's going to be a lot of people with protective stops set on this pivot low back in May. Once that breaks, we're going to see orders trigger and probably see another flush to the downside. So that's kind of where we stand right now. They are getting oversold. They are oversold, and the market is oversold in general, which is why I'm anticipating a bounce and why we covered our positions yesterday. But right now, really, there's not much you want to do. You don't want to stand in front of sellers when they are aggressively selling. Now, taking a look at, let's just pull up the SP 500. Here it is here. Here's the SP 500 10-minute chart. Just kind of zooming out, you can see the bearish action we've had. Moved down, been consolidating a lot like the oil chart, and we've got this huge gap. The fact that we had this huge gap yesterday, we're oversold. We're actually going to see the market gap lower at this time in the morning. We're down about another 1%, trading down near this previous low over here. I wouldn't be surprised, though. We are getting to that oversold condition. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some type of bounce up to fill this this gap window here. So we've got a big move to go up to that gap window, and then from there it could be lights out. We could see another big leg like this, like we saw back here, enter the market. We could see just go into another free fall mode, because technically I'm seeing this as more or less a large bear flag. On the weekly chart, it looks like nice move down, bear flag, and we're going to get this same move down. You measure that from the top here and go all the way down. We've got a big potential move to the downside. So we may be looking to short stocks. We'll have to see how things pan out, because everybody is selling. We've got a rise in volume. Usually when you get this type of big panic selling, we could possibly be putting in a bottom. So very cautious here on what we're going to do. Depends on how this bounce plays out. If it's an instant bounce straight up, then it's more likely to probably be a shorting opportunity. If it kind of slowly drifts its way up over time on declining volume, then it would probably be also a good short. But if we see nice bull flags forming and it creates a nice stair-stepping pattern, then it's actually more bullish. So it all depends on how the next few days unfold. But overall, I am bearish on the market still, and we're going to be looking for some new entry points over the next week or so as things kind of stabilize and pull back from their current or, or recover from their current sell-offs. Anyways, that's it this morning, and I'll talk to you shortly. Bye bye.